unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold. He that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Shalom, Yasha Allah. Shalom, Akim Wa Akwas. Giving all honor, praise, and glory to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and His Son, Yahweh Shai, as we gather for another Wednesday's Words of Wisdom, readings of the ancients, and writings from the inspired words of the prophets of old, which have been handed down to the children of Yasha'Allah, the children of Israel, today known as your so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans of Negroid Indian descent. I will be reading tonight out of the book of the Apocrypha. The book of the Apocrypha, Wisdom of Solomon, chapters 11 through chapter 16. So if you get your Apocrypha and open them up, we will begin. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11. She, wisdom, prospered their works in the hand of the holy prophet. They went through the wilderness that was not inhabited, and pitched tents in places where there lay no way. They stood against their enemies and were avenged of their adversaries. When they were thirsty, they called upon thee, and water was given them out of the flinty rock, and their thirst was quenched out of the hand hard stone. For by what things their enemies were punished, by the same they in their need were benefit. For instead of a fountain of a perpetual running river, trouble them, with foul blood. For a manifest reproof of that commandment, whereby the infants were slain, thou gavest unto them abundance of water by means which they hoped not for, declaring by that thirst then how thou hadst punished their adversaries. For when they were tried, albeit but in mercy, chastised, they knew how the ungodly were judged in wrath and tormented, thirsting in another manner than the just. For these thou didst admonish and try, as a father. But the other, as a severe king, thou didst condemn and punish. Whether they were absent or present, they were vexed alike. For a double grief came upon them, and a groaning for the remembrance of things past. For when they heard by their own punishments the other to be benefited, they had some feeling of Yahweh, for whom they rejected with scorn, when he was long before thrown out at the casting forth of the infants. Him in the end, when they saw what came to pass, they admired. But for the foolish devices of their wickedness, wherewith being deceived, they worship serpents, void of reason, and vile beasts. Thou didst send a multitude of unreasonable beasts upon them for vengeance, that they might know that wherewithal a man sinneth, by the same also shall he be punished. For thy almighty hand that made the world of matter without form, wanted not means to send among them a multitude of bears, or fierce lions, or unknown wild beasts, full of rage, newly created, breathing out either a fiery vapor or filthy scents of scattered smoke, or shooting horrible sparkles out of their eyes, whereof not only the harm might dispatch them at once, but also the terrible sight utterly destroy them. Yea, and without these might they have fallen down with one blast, being persecuted of vengeance, and scattered abroad through the breath of thy power. But thou hast ordered all things in measure, and number, and weight. For thou canst show thy great strength at all times when thou wilt. And who may withstand the power of thine arm? For the whole world before thee is as a little grain of the balance, yea, as a drop of the morning dew that falleth down upon the earth. But thou hast mercy upon all, for thou canst do all things, and winkest at the sins of men, because they should amend. For thou lovest all things that are, and abhorrest nothing which thou hast made. For never wouldest thou have made anything if thou hast hated it. And now, and how could anything have endured if it had not been thy will, or been preserved, if not called by thee? But thou sparest all, for they are thine, O Yahweh, thou lover of souls. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12. For thine incorruptible spirit is in all things. Therefore, chastenest thou them by little and little that offend, and warnest them by putting them in remembrance wherein they have offended, that leaving their wickedness, they may believe on thee, O Yahweh. For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of thy holy land, whom thou hatest for doing most odious works of witchcrafts and wicked sacrifices, and also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of man's flesh, and the feast of blood, with their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew, and the parents that kill with their own hands souls destitute of help, that the land which thou esteemest above all other might receive a worthy colony of Yahweh's children. Nevertheless, even those thou sparedest as men, and didst send wasps, forerunners of thine host, to destroy them by little and little. Not that thou wast unable to bring the ungodly under the hand of the righteous in battle, or to destroy them at once with cruel beasts, or with one rough word, but executing thy judgments upon them by little and little, thou gavest them place of repentance, not being ignorant that they were a naughty generation, and that their malice was bred in them, and that their cogitation would never be changed. For it was a cursed seed from the beginning. Neither didst thou for feast of any man, fear of any man, give them pardon for those things wherein they sin. For who shall say, what hast thou done? Or who shall withstand thy judgments? Or who shall accuse thee for the nations that perish, whom thou hast made? Or who shall come to stand against thee to be revenged for the unrighteous man? For neither is there any power but thou that careth for all, to whom thou mightest show that thy judgment is not unright. Neither shall king or tyrant be able to set his face against thee for any whom thou hast punished. For so much then as thou art righteous thyself, thou orderest all things righteously, thinking it not agreeable with thy power to condemn him that have not deserved to be punished. For thy power is the beginning of righteousness. And because thou art the Lord of all, it maketh thee to be gracious unto all. For when men will not believe that thou art of a full power, thou showest thy strength, and among them that know it, thou makest their boldness manifest. But thou, mastering thy power, judgest with equity, and orderest us with great favor. For thou mayest use power when thou wilt. But by such works hast thou taught thy people that the just man should be merciful, and hast made thy children to be of a good hope, that thou givest repentance for sins. For if thou didst punish the enemies of thy children, and the condemned to death, with such deliberation, giving them time and place whereby they might be delivered from their malice, with how great circumspection didst thou judge thine own sons, unto whose fathers thou hast sworn and made covenants of good promises. Therefore, whereas thou dost chasten us, thou scourgest our enemies 1,000 times more, to the intent that when we judge, we should carefully think of thy goodness. And when we ourselves are judged, we should look for mercy. Wherefore, whereas men have lived devoutly and unrighteously, thou hast tormented them with their own abominations. For they went astray very far in the ways of error, and held them for gods, which even among the beasts of their enemies were despised, being deceived as children of no understanding. Therefore, unto them, as to children without the use of reason, thou didst send a judgment to mock them. But they that would not be reformed by that correction wherein he dallied with them, shall feel a judgment worthy of Yahweh. For look, for what things they grudged when they were punished. That is, for them whom they thought to be gods, now being whom they thought to be gods, being punished in them. When they saw it, they acknowledged him to be the true power, whom before they denied to know. And therefore came extreme damnation upon them. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13. Surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of Yahweh, and could not out of the good things that are seen to know him that is. Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the workmaster, but deemed either fire or wind or the swift air, or the circle of the stars, or the violent water, or the lights of heaven, to be the gods which govern the world, with whose beauty, if they being delighted, took them to be gods. Let them know how much better Yahweh of them is. For the first author of beauty hath created them. But if they were astonished at their power and virtue, let them understand by them how much mightier he is that made them. For by the greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionately the maker of them is seen. But yet for this day are the less to be blamed. For they peradventure err, seeking Yahweh and desirous to find him. For being conversant in his works, they search him diligently and believe their sight, because the things are beautiful that are seen. Howbeit, neither are they to be pardoned. For if they were able to know such and so much that they could aim at the world, how did they not sooner find him out, the Lord thereof? But miserable are they, and in dead things is their hope, who call them gods, which are the works of men's hands, gold and silver, to show art in, and reasonable balance of beasts, or a stone good for nothing, the work of an ancient hand. Now a carpenter that felleth timber, after he hath sawn down a tree meet for the purpose, and taken off all the bark skillfully round about, and hath wrought it handsomely, and made a vessel thereof, fit for the service of man's life. And after spending the refuge of his work to dress his meat, hath filled himself, and taking the very refuge among those which serve to no use, being a crooked piece of wood and full of knots, have carved it diligently, when he had nothing else to do, and formed it by the skill of his understanding, and fashioned it to the image of a man, or made it like some vile beast, laying it over with vermilion and with paint, coloring it red, and covering every spot therein. And when he had made a convenient room for it, set it in a wall, and made it fast with iron. For he provided for it that it might not fall, knowing that it was unable to help itself. For it is an image, and hath need of help. Then maketh he prayer for his goods, for his wife and children, and is not ashamed to speak to that which hath no life. For health he calleth upon that which is weak. For life prayeth to that which is dead. For aid humbly beseecheth that which hath least means to help. And for a good journey he asketh of that which cannot set a foot forward. And for gaining and getting, and for good success of his hands, asketh ability to do of him that is most unable to do anything. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14. Again, one preparing himself to sail and about to pass through the raging waves calleth upon a piece of wood more rotten than the vessel that carrieth him. For verily desire of gain devised that, and the workman built it by his will, his skill. But thy providence, O Father, governeth it. For thou hast made a way in the sea, and a safe path in the waves, showing that thou canst save from all danger. Yea, though a man went to sea without art, nevertheless, thou wouldest not that the works of thy wisdom should be idle. And therefore do men commit their lives to a small piece of wood, and passing the rough sea in a weak vessel are saved. For in the old time also, when the proud giants perished, the hope of the world governed by thy hand escaped in a weak vessel, and left to all ages a seed of generation. For blessed is the wood whereby righteousness cometh. But that which is made with hands is cursed, as well it as he that made it. He, because he made it, and it, because being corruptible, it was called God. For the ungodly and his ungodliness are both alike hateful unto Yahweh. For that which is made shall be punished together with him that made it. Therefore, even upon the idols of the Gentiles shall there be a visitation, because in the creature of Yahweh they are become an abomination and stumbling blocks to the souls of men, and a snare to the feet of the unwise. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them, the corruption of life. For neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever. For by the vainglory of men they entered into the world, and therefore shall they come shortly to an end. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning when he hath made an image of his child, soon taken away, now honored him as a God, which was then a dead man, and delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices. Thus, in process of time, an ungodly custom, grown strong, was kept as a law, and graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings, whom men could not honor in presence because they dwelt far off. They took the counterfeit of his visage from far and made an express image of a king whom they honored, to the end that by this their forwardness they might flatter him that was absent as if he were present. Also, the singular diligence of the artificer, did help to set forward the ignorant to more superstition. For he, peradventure, willing to please one in authority, forced all his skill to make the resemblance of the best fashion. And so the multitude, allured by the grace of the work, took him now for a god, which a little before was but honored as a man. And this was an occasion to deceive the world. For men serving either calamity or tyranny did ascribe unto stones and stocks the incommunicable name. Moreover, this was not enough for them, that they erred in the knowledge of Yahweh. But whereas they lived in the great war of ignorance, those so great plagues call they peace. For whilst they slew their children in sacrifices, or used secret ceremonies, or made revelings of strange rites, they kept neither lives nor marriages any longer undefiled. But either one slew another treacherously, or grieved him by adultery, so that there reigned in all men without exception blood, manslaughter, theft, and dissimulation, corruption, unfaithfulness, tumults, perjury, disquieting of good men, forgetfulness of good turns, defiling of souls, changing of kind, disorder in marriages, adultery, and shameless uncleanness. For the worshiping of idols not to be named is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil. For either they are mad when they be merry, or prophesy lies, or live unjustly, or else lightly forswear themselves. For insomuch as their trust is in idols which have no life, though they swear falsely, yet they look not to be hurt. Howbeit, For both causes shall they be justly punished, both because they thought not well of Yahweh, giving heed unto idols, and also unjustly swore in deceit, despising holiness. For it is not the power of them by whom they swear, but it is the just vengeance of sinners that punisheth always the offense of the ungodly. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 15. But thou, O Yahweh, art gracious and true, long-suffering, and in mercy, ordering all things. For if we sin, we are thine, knowing thy power. But we will not sin, knowing that we are counted thine. For to know thee is perfect righteousness. Yea, to know thy power is the root of immortality. For neither did the mischievous invention of men deceive us, nor an image spotted with diverse colors, the painter's fruitless labor, the sight whereof enticeth fools to lust after it, and so they desire the form of a dead image that hath no breath. Both they that make them, they that desire them, and they that worship them are lovers of evil things, and are worthy to have such things to trust upon. For the potter, tempering soft earth, fashioneth every vessel with much labor for our service. Yea, of the same clay he maketh both the vessels that serve for clean uses, and likewise also all such as serve to the contrary. But what is the use of either sort? The potter himself is the judge. And employing his labors lewdly, he maketh a vain god of the same clay. Even he which a little before was made of earth himself, and within a little while after returning to the same, out of the which he was taken, when his life, which was lent him, shall be demanded. Notwithstanding, his care is not that he shall have much labor, nor that his life is short, but striveth to excel goldsmiths and silversmiths, and endeavoreth to do like the workers in brass, and counted it his glory to make counterfeit things. His heart is ashes. His hope is more vile than the earth, and his life of less value than clay. For as much as he knew not his maker, and him that inspired into him an active soul, and breathed in a living spirit, but they counted our life a pastime, and our time here a market for gain. For say they, we must be getting every way, though it be by evil means. For this man, that of earthly matter, maketh brittle vessels and graven images, knoweth himself to offend above all others. And all the enemies of thy people that hold them in subjection are most foolish and are more miserable than very babes. For they counted all the idols of the heathen to be gods, which neither have the use of eyes to see, nor noses to draw breath, nor ears to hear, nor fingers of hands to handle. And as for their feet, they are slow to go. For man made them, and he that borrowed his own spirit fashioned them. But no man can make a God like unto himself. For being mortal, he worketh a dead thing with a wicked hand. For he maketh himself better than the things which he worshipeth. Whereas he lived once, but they never. Yea, they worship those beasts also that are most hateful. For being compared together, some are worse than others. Neither are they beautiful, so much as to be desired in respect of beasts. But they went without the praise of Yahweh and his blessing. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16. Therefore, by the like were they punished worthily, and by the multitude of beasts tormented. Instead of which punishment, dealing graciously with thine own people, thou preparest for them meat of a strange taste, even quails to stir up their appetite, to the end that they, desiring food, might for the ugly sight of the beasts sent among them loathe even that which they must needs desire. But these, suffering penury for a short space, might be made partakers of a strange taste. For it was required that upon them exercising tyranny should come penury, which they could not avoid. But to these it should only be showed how their enemies were tormented. For when the horrible fierceness of beasts came upon these, and they perished with the stings of crooked serpents, thy wrath endured not forever. But they were troubled for a small season, that they might be admonished, having a sign of salvation, to put them in remembrance of the commandment of thy law. For he that turned himself toward it was not saved by the thing that he saw, but by thee, that art the Savior of all. And in this thou madest thine enemies confess that it is thou who deliverest them from all evil. For them the bitings of grasshoppers and flies killed, neither was there found any remedy for their life, for they were worthy to be punished by such. But thy sons, not the very teeth of venomous dragons, overcame. For thy mercy was ever by them, and healed them. For they were pricked that they should remember thy words, and were quickly saved, that not falling into deep forgetfulness, they might be continually mindful of thy goodness. For it was neither herb nor mollifying plaster that restored them to health, but thy word, O Yahweh, which healeth all things. For thou hast power of life and death. Thou leadest to the gates of hell, and bringest up again. A man indeed killeth through his malice, and the spirit, when it is gone forth, returneth not. Neither the soul received up cometh again. But it is not possible to escape thine hand. For the ungodly that denied to know thee were scourged by the strength of thine arm. With strange rains, hails, and showers were they persecuted, that they could not avoid. And through fire were they consumed. For which is most to be wondered at, the fire had more force in the water that quencheth all things, for the world fighteth for the righteous. For some time the flame was mitigated, that it might not burn up the beasts that were sent against the ungodly, but themselves might see and perceive that they were persecuted with the judgment of Yahweh. And at another time it burneth even in the midst of water above the power of fire, that it might destroy the fruits of an unjust land. Instead whereof thou feddest thine own people with angels' food, and didst send them from heaven bread prepared without their labor, able to content every man's delight, and agreeing to every taste. For thy sustenance declareth thy sweetness unto thy children, and serving to the appetite of the eater, tempered itself to every man's liking. But snow and ice endured the fire, and melted not, that they might know that the fire burning in the hail and sparkling in the rain did destroy the fruits of the enemies. But this again did even forget his own strength, that the righteous might be nourished. For the creature that serveth thee, who art the maker, increaseth his strength against the unrighteous for their punishment, and abateth his strength for the benefit of such as put their trust in thee. Therefore, even then was it altered into all fashions, and was obedient to thy grace that nourisheth all things, according to the desire of them that had need. That thy children, O Yahweh, whom thou lovest, might know that it is not the growing of fruits that nourisheth man, but that it is thy word which preserveth them that put their trust in thee. For that which was not destroyed of the fire, being warmed with a little sunbeam, soon melted away, that it might be known that we must prevent the sun to give thee thanks, and at the day spring pray unto thee. For the hope of the unthankful shall melt away as the winter's hoarfrost, and shall run away as unprofitable water. And that, Yasha Allah, shall conclude this Wednesday's words of wisdom. I pray all was uplifting, all was inspiring, and all was edifying. I hope this will be a blessing to all, Yasha Allah. I say shalom. Have a blessed week.
My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. He that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen. Tazalia al yum yum ya Hashema Shala Yahweh, Yashamoria, Makal, Rai, Yashamor, Napasha, Yahweh, Yashamor, Hamalanya, Wa'aya, Ma'aitha, Wa'ai, Hawalam, Aman,